Well, hello everyone, and welcome back. Thank you for joining me so much for another episode of the Mr. Healthy Habit Show. I do appreciate you taking the time to listen here. And I do realize that the last episode we left off on a subject that we didn't get into. That being the subject of how to know when you've done enough and when it's time to get out of your own way and start letting the universe work through you. Now, in the previous episode, we discussed the concept and idea of living for others, living to enable the hopes and dreams in others rather than always putting ourselves first. And I used the story from my childhood about a PE teacher that was hell-bent on making us do a mile in under 9 minutes, and a friend of mine that helped me out. So today, on the topic of how to know when we've done enough, I have got another story for you that we're going to get into. We are going to talk about weight loss. Knowing when you've done enough is a really pervasive concept throughout the weight loss community. I see people doing it, and I fell victim to it so much myself, where you tend to get into this vicious cycle of overeating on the weekends and then hell-bent during the week of burning it off and over-exercising. Now, this is something that I did for, honestly, probably several years, and it was really the personal development community and philosophy books and books on peace and contentment and self-growth and acceptance that really helped me to find balance within my own weight loss journey. You see, after losing about 180 pounds, I looked in the mirror and still was not content with what I saw. I've got loose skin, and while it's not as bad, and I hate to use that word given the philosophy that we've delved into over the past several episodes here, but it's not as much, I guess you could say, as others that I have seen, but it's still there and still keeps me from achieving that elusive aesthetic that I've worked so hard over the years to try to gain. You put in all this work and all this effort and get up every day, 4 a.m, run 8 miles, killing myself all day long, and just not happy with what I've seen in the mirror. Now, those days are behind me now. Those days are behind me now. I have a much more positive outlook on what I've been able to achieve and much better perspective. I mean, I know, loose skin or not, loose skin beats diabetes or a heart condition. I know that there are many people out there that would kill to have my level of health with the loose skin. So I can't take my accomplishments for granted. I can't take what I've done for granted and look in the mirror and just be ill-contented with myself. That's just not fair to me. That's not fair to everyone else who struggles to achieve a healthier self. That's not fair to my listeners. It's not fair to the world. It's not fair to God. It's not fair to the universe. It's just simply a matter of feeling sorry for myself. And I have to be guarded against that. That is a road that I won't go down. And to be honest with you, never really went down too deeply. I could argue that one way or the other. I'd like to say that. I'd like to believe that. But the truth is, on the subject of the podcast here, knowing when we've done enough, I did fall into a very vicious cycle where I would get up in the morning and I would run 8 miles and work out for probably over an hour, barely eat throughout the day, come home, get on the exercise bike while lifting weights and work out for literally another hour and a half while my kids and my wife watched me do this, there was no interrupting me. I mean, completely hard-headed about it. I mean, I wasn't going to listen to anyone. And when the weekend came, oh man, I would just have the slightest taste of salt or sugar and just let go. I mean, the floodgates would completely open, and that banana cream pie or takeout from Casa Orozco or what have you was gone. Halloween candy, bags of it, gone. There was no avoiding it. I mean, I was so depleted and so starved that on the weekends, as soon as I even smelt something that I wanted, and I knew that this was going to be the weekend, I would allow myself a little bit of a treat. But it doesn't stop there. Once your brain gets that taste of it, there is this uncontrollable urge to eat more and more and more. And that is simply because I was just doing too much. I was just over-exercising during the week. I was way off balance, working out 6-7 days a week. And if I'm being honest, the struggle to find balance was more of a challenge than actually losing the weight to begin with. You see, I've used an analogy of a snowball rolling down a hill, and that's very much what the weight loss was like for me. But eventually, man, I mean, that snowball, it's picked up so much momentum. I mean, you just don't know what's good for you, and you can't slow it down. You can't stop it. And it's a struggle. It is a struggle to slow it down without stopping it, to slow it down and continue to let it roll so this isn't the end of your journey. Now, I got all the way down to around 158, 157 pounds. And for a guy that is 6 feet tall, I just did not feel my best. I mean, I was starting to get sick easier. I was always cold, felt my bones in weird places, and looked at pictures of myself and was like, well, hey man, you know what? I mean, loose skin aside, is this really the way you want to look? I mean, you're getting skinnier and skinnier and skinnier here, Maybe if you bulked up a bit, and just try to find peace with that loose skin, I mean, it'll serve you best. But I can tell you now that the loose skin has served me. It has served me. It has done good in my life. It was for a reason. There was a reason why I was destined to have it. You look in the mirror and then you don't see something that you're happy with. And then you ask yourself, why? Why am I not happy with this? I need to learn to accept this. There's a mental struggle here. One of acceptance, an important one that'll serve me for the rest of my life. So philosophy books, man. Philosophy books and books on peace and happiness and acceptance is what I've delved into. And I've listened to dozens of them, literally freaking dozens of them. Because, I mean, to be honest with you, it wasn't really all about the loose skin. I just really fell in love with the genre. I fell in love with the genre and building myself into the person that I am today. And learning to find peace with the mind and peace with the body and with the soul and the heart is very, very interesting stuff to me on a personal level. And the truth is, without that loose skin, you probably would not be listening here to me right now. I never probably would have embarked on this journey through peace and acceptance and philosophy, and never would have been inspired to create this podcast or the Instagram that I've created at philosophical.reminders. By the way, I post really great content on there. And I would not be the person I am today. I would not be embarking on this practice of peace and acceptance. And in many ways, I can look back now and see where the loose skin was actually a blessing. It was a blessing in disguise that helped to make me a better person. Maybe not a person as aesthetically pleasing as, some of the people you might see on Instagram or whatnot, but it's made me strong of the heart, strong of the mind and strong of the will and of the soul, and has allowed me to become the type of person that is inspired in all things that I see, inspired in all things that I do, and the type of person that wants to share this with you and hope that you can go about your day and find inspiration in all that you do and live peacefully and happily and well, along with healthily. Now, I've got plenty more to say on this topic, but we'll be back after this, man. So then, how do you know when enough is enough? How do you know when you've gone past that point where maybe you need to realize you need to scale things back or take a break, or when you've just done enough and then there's just not much more that could be done during the day? In terms of weight loss and fitness, one of the things that has helped me to achieve a state of better balance between striving for a goal and not overworking myself is simply realizing that I've got my whole life ahead of me. I've got every single day up until the day I die to eat right, to exercise, to try to live healthily. It's not a race. This isn't a sprint or some kind of a race where I've got to lose 20 pounds in 2 months or anything like that. This is a lifelong process that is going to be with me for a long time. Just the same as pizza, as candy, as banana cream pie will be with me for the rest of my life. So too will be this drive towards a better self, physically and healthily. You see, it took me a while to realize that, this doesn't all have to be done in a week or in a month. Again, it's a process that's going to continue for the rest of my life. And that is the best way to look at it in terms of long-term sustainability. The only reason I would have to kill myself this week to achieve a certain goal is if I plan on dropping these healthy habits the next week or the next month or the next year or so on. And I don't plan on that. With the way the deck is often stacked against us in terms of our health these days, this is something that we need to be mindful of for the rest of our lives. Eating healthy and exercising isn't something that you just do when you want to lose weight. It's something that you do to better take care of your body. And the more we age, the more our body is going to be in need of that care. So I don't have to kill myself this week to try to lose or achieve a certain number on the scale at the end of this week. Because again, I know I've got my whole life ahead of me to practice this and to work on this. And it's going to be something that's going to be with me for quite some time. Something that I don't plan on ever putting down. So how else do you know when enough is enough? Well, I would say when it doesn't serve you anymore. When you're starting to fight injuries and you're starting to fight fatigue and you're just not enjoying the process as much as you normally do. When you start feeling guilty about the time that you focus into this and you see other areas of your life that require attention, maybe it's time to switch focus for a little bit. See, one of the definitions of a mental illness is when you know something is bad for you. You know something is going to harm you and is going to cause some hurt to you or those around you, but you just can't help it and you do it anyway. If you know it's if you want to do it, if it's something that you enjoy doing and you want to do it, then it's really not some type of an addiction. But if you know that it is going to be detrimental to your health, but you just can't stop and do it anyway, then you know that this is something that might not be the best for you in this capacity. Maybe it's something that needs to be scaled back, or something that you need to achieve a better perspective on. For myself, the lack of balance was obvious. The way I would go about the week and then lose control over the weekends was obvious that this wasn't really a healthy path for me, and it wasn't something that was going to be sustainable long term, and something that I definitely knew that I needed to correct. You see, sometimes these things are really just a matter of acceptance. It is the failure to accept things as they are that causes us to go off the deep end and to not believe that we've done enough. But acceptance is a practice. It's not something that we can just achieve overnight. I mean, in some cases you can, but your resolve to hold on to that level of acceptance is going to be weak because you haven't necessarily practiced it. Acceptance and realizing that tomorrow is another day and that you've got your whole life ahead of you to work on your goals and the things that you want, whether it's cleaning the house, whether it's losing weight, whether it's a hobby or fixing the car or whatnot. We've got our whole lives. And sometimes for the sake of balance, we need to practice acceptance of the way things are, and acceptance of the fact that maybe we need to learn to be patient, and things aren't just going to happen all for us right away as we want them to. Everything comes at its appointed moment. And also, if you have trouble realizing when you've done enough and it's okay to stop for now, I would highly recommend audiobooks. They've helped me in a great number of ways. You can check out the philosophy section, you can check out the personal development section, and there's a lot of great timeless advice within these books that you can absorb and that will influence you and have an effect on you and allow you to achieve that state of practice where you look at the day with a greater level of acceptance for the things that you cannot change and practice peace with yourself. Audiobooks have helped me to realize that if I could look in the mirror and be discontented, then I'm always probably gonna look in the mirror and be discontented. I mean, what's next, you know? I mean, what is gonna be next, you know? I mean, happiness, contentment is something that comes from within. It's something that is in the mind. It's something that we can project onto reality as we wish. It's not a number on a scale or a look in a mirror. And okay, let's say so if you do look a certain way in the mirror, oh yeah, that would make me happy. Well, but then what happens when you don't look that way in the mirror? Are you just not going to be happy? Are you just going to be ill-contented about it? I mean, yeah, sure, go about life striving for your goals and trying to make positive changes in your life. I mean, when I say practice acceptance, I'm not saying don't try to make positive changes, but don't go about life trying to make those positive changes because of some discontent that you have inside. Make peace with that. Find contentment inside and then go about your goals and strive to make change, but not because you're unhappy with yourself. There's a great Dale Carnegie quote that goes something like, "Success is getting what you want. Happiness is wanting what you get." So that means if you do achieve that number on the scale or that aesthetic, that will bring you success. That means success in some context. And happiness is wanting what you get. So at the end of the day, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be happy with the results. I mean, I got down to 158 pounds and then decided that I was too skinny and then needed to start bulking up and gaining some more weight back. I got to that number on the scale. It got lower and lower and lower, and I did not find happiness at the bottom. I needed to come back up, and then I'm still doing it back and forth. These days, however, I'd like to believe that I'm practicing acceptance with my body, and that I'm not doing this out of some discontent. I'm doing this because I want to improve and get bigger and leaner and stronger and all those things that have just been ingrained in me over the last years to try to achieve. And sometimes it's important to remember that at the end of the day, you got to be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor. You know, we're not doing all of this for nothing. You know, you've got to be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor. And that's hard to do if you're constantly looking at yourself, criticizing yourself, feeling like you're not enough or like you didn't do enough. At some point, you do deserve to enjoy your accomplishments. And just because you might not have hit your goal weight or target waistline, that doesn't mean that you don't have accomplishments. If you've got 50 pounds to lose and you've lost 10, well, hey, guess what? You've got a reason to celebrate there, because that's an accomplishment. Every little pound that you lose up into that goal weight is an accomplishment. And you got to be able to let yourself enjoy that. You got to be able to let yourself enjoy that. Learn to allow the joys of the little accomplishments be your momentum to push you forward, not your discontent with what is in life. Make peace with that. Make peace with that, and let your success be your driving force. Also, know that everything is within. Everything is within. There is nothing outside of you that you lack. If you accomplish that goal this week and say you hit your target goal weight for this week, or if you don't and you fall short and salt or water weight or whatever throws you off and you find that you're a few pounds higher than where you wanted to be, well, guess what? That's still you on the scale. Nothing about you has fundamentally changed. If you do manage to hit that goal weight at the end of the week, or you don't, you're still the same person. You're still the same person. One is not better than the other. It's still you, still your heart, still your mind. All your thoughts and ideas are all still very much there. It hasn't changed you fundamentally at all. So don't attach your self-worth to these arbitrary goals that we come up with for ourselves. I do hope that some of that helped. This is an important topic, I feel. It's one that I've lived through myself personally in many cases. So we will come back to this in later podcasts. But for now, I thank you so much for joining me. And I want to remind you to follow me on Instagram at philosophical.reminders. Please subscribe and follow me wherever you're listening to this podcast. I'm probably going to be switching up the schedule here a bit and not putting these things out 3 times a week, more shooting for twice a week, possibly, maybe Mondays and Thursdays, as opposed to Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I got to give you guys a chance to catch up, man, at all that I've been putting out there. So probably twice a week now is what I'm going to be shooting for, and that gives me time to better work on myself and to bring you guys a better version of me on these podcasts. So thank you guys so much. I hope you are enjoying your day, and take care.